And so while I went to get my breakfast, which was a blueberry pastry, that's basically sugar with some blueberries in it and then a pastry.
You
Uh,
say that like it's a bad thing.
it was amazing. So I'm driving my big old truck. Do you see my big old truck out there?
I did. That was the one that you got from your dad, right?
It is.
Very
And
nice. I'll
so
take a closer look at it
it's
later.
lovely. So I'm driving my big old truck, and I get to a stoplight and send Richard a picture of my pastry. But I brought both producers cookies,
And we
and
thank you.
and it's a sampling of them. So there's a
Ooh.
snickerdoodle, there's a chocolate chip, and then there's I think an oatmeal something or another. So you can
Okay.
figure out which one you like the best.
Nice. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, for those of you who listen to me during the holidays on Leland's show, which I'm hoping is everyone, because for shame if you didn't, I ended the New Year's Eve, ended the show with like, I'm gonna have a quiet, calm New Year's, and that was the plan. I left the studio the 31st. It was the last show of Leland. I went home and I mentioned this while I was on air, my boys, my 2 sons and my ex went to the fireworks shop over by Bass Pro, and we go there. This is an annual tradition of ours. We go there, we get sparklers, we get those little caps that you throw on the front porch and they pop, the little
Yeah, I know
popping
what you're talking about.
things. And occasionally bottle rockets, but that's the extent of our fireworks, partially because of where we live. It's not really conducive to fireworks. There's woods on one side of us, and the houses are close. And so, at any rate, I was not there to supervise because I was on 99.5, and this almost cost me my house because without adult supervision, the boys came back with a medium-sized firework package that would be fine if we lived anywhere but where we live. And, I kid you not, they they set off fireworks. This is my first show since then. I've been dying to tell you guys. They set off fireworks, and I am so not happy with this situation that, and you have to, I guess, partially know my ex to know this. He's not listening. I know he's in another state. Um, but I don't trust him with fireworks. I don't trust him with fire or fireworks. The combination of the two, not great. So I am not exaggerating when I tell you I was inside the house because I knew this was going to make my anxiety go through the roof. Well, they set off fireworks. My daughter runs in. There's like pop, 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 pop. It's a big one thing, and my daughter runs in the house. She's like, "I'm gonna watch from the window." I was like, "Smart girl. You are a wise girl." Little while later, the youngest comes in and he's like, "I almost got hit by a firework," and I
That
was
could
like,
happen.
"This isn't good." So my they all come in because they're now looking for the little one, making sure he's okay. And I was like, "You will not. You are done. Y'all are done. This is enough. Like enough." And they were like, "Oh, but we have so much more." And I'm like, "Nope. I'm putting my foot down." So everybody comes in, sits down, and my phone rings. And I am like, it is the neighbor, and he is upset because he has 2 small children, and they're probably scared or they're annoyed. And so he says, I say, "Hello?" He says, "Hello." And I go, I know. It's too much for our street. That was too much." And he goes, "I'm just making sure you know." And I go, "I know. I know." And he goes, "There's a fire in your yard." And I was like, "I'm sorry, come again?" And he goes, "There's a fire. Your wood pile is on fire." And I was like, "No, I did not know that." Well, it turns out his toddler had looked out the window to see the fireworks. Everybody had already gone inside, but there's an actual fire now in there's a wood pile next to my house and it's on fire. And so, so here's, you don't know what you're going to do in these situations until it happens. And it turns out I don't react well in stressful situations.
I see.
So the kids run down to see how bad the fire is. All I see is some flames and smoke. It's a pretty big wood fire. By the way, JD has come by and cut wood and cut it into so for us to use for our little fire pit. So that's what
Very
that's
nice of him to
doing
do that.
there. And but it's like the size of that wall basically between it's 6 8 feet, I don't know, of firewood stacked up. So I'm thinking this isn't good. And so I go to get the hose, and the hose is doesn't reach. And I go, "Do I need to call 911?" To which in my head, I heard yes. Apparently, the answer was no. So I call 911. New Year's Eve, fireworks going off around us. I'm on the phone at 911. They get the fire out. It was nothing. It was not a big deal. And then later I learned about, firewalls and safety and fire breaks and it would have been fine, but that's neither here nor there. The wood pile just itself would have been on fire. My quiet New Year's went up in smoke. But sure enough, I called the fire department back. I'm like, "Hey, we got it out. That it's fine." And they were like, "Yeah, we can cancel the emergency, but they have to come out and verify it's out." So, sure
Nice. So
enough,
they're going to
I
show up
just
anyway.
stand outside New Year's Eve like, this is not what I had planned when I left the studio at 6 PM.
As I remember, though, it wasn't terrifically cold, so it wasn't like
Eh,
radically uncomfortable.
no, it was just and here's the other thing I didn't realize is, so I guess the ground was still a little wet, like the leaves were a little wet, so
Oh, yeah.
I had no shoes on when I first ran out to check on the fire situation. Then I say to my daughter, "Please bring me shoes," and she brings me flip-flops. Incredibly helpful. And then when I
Sure.
was trying to get the water hose on, I get myself all wet instead because it doesn't reach, and it was a whole situation. And so, yeah, it was comical. So that's how I started. For those of you who listened, we had a very lovely end to the New Year's, and then 2026 started with a bang. It started
Literally.
it started with a literal. So I
And a
sent.
light show.
It was a light show. Now here's what's funny. So we live on a road that, and I didn't want the fire truck to come up because it's an ordeal if they come up. And so I like run to the bottom of my street and I'm like, you don't need to come up. The fire's out. And you could see there are two firemen and you could see that. God bless you, Birmingham Fire. God bless you, all first responders. So the driver is just rolling his eyes, and all I can imagine is what calls they had leading up to the point where the crazy woman in her pajamas is running out to be like, "We got it. It's okay." So I got this great image to start my New Year's with, and it's the fire truck at the end of the road, and there's my neighbor's inflatable Olaf, like, in the foreground, the truck's in the background, and that's how we started our New Year's. So, in case
Bringing in 2026 in
that's
style.
that's how we that's how we're doing it. All right, and I don't know if you heard this, Steve, but we got a 3D printer. Do you see the headphone stand in there? I don't know if it's still made it, if it's still in there. Is there a bright green headphone stand anywhere in there? No.
Not that I've seen.
AJ has put it away
Maybe
apparently.
absconded with it. Yeah.
So I've been 3D. My son from Santa got a 3D printer, and I have been printing as much, if not more, than he's printed.
So
We'll just
you're more fascinated with it
I'm
than he is.
obsessed with it. So if you're on the camera, I'm going to show you some of the fun things I've made with my 3D printer. This is a fidget I've got in my hand. It just folds every which way.
Oh, okay.
And then I made these little baby, like it's a little baby iguana. Chameleon. It's a chameleon.
Okay.
Little baby chameleon. It's been very entertaining for me. I have so much to talk about today politically. I'm not going to just talk about my 3D printer all the time, although I will talk about it some a little. I have so much to talk about today. Yesterday, the SCOTUS hearings, so much happening there. Oh my goodness. I'm going to go into some of what we saw on the ground. Absolute freak show. And I mean that literally. I am a nice person. I am a person who does not believe in insulting people just for funsies, but there is no other way to describe the side that was out there supporting boys and girls sports and boys in locker rooms. No other way to describe it than absolute freak show. And then what we heard from the liberal justices, mind-boggling. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Ivy had her state of the state, her final state of the state last night. Total snooze fest. But we'll read some of what she said. And then get into some of the state and local headlines. So that's what you got today on April Murray, filling in for Andrew. You guys hold tight. Well, good morning, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Andrew. If you're one of the YouTube watchers and you just turned on your camera and you're like, "What's happening here?" No, it's Andrew did
Andrew,
not
you've
get
changed.
Andrew did not get a makeover. Okay, I am in support of the SCOTUS case yesterday, wearing my XXXY, which is the brand of athletic wear for that supports women athletes. I am wearing my woman shirt today. What boggles the mind is that we have U.S. Supreme Court justices who were really seemingly confused about what is a woman, which again, I understand Democrats have a low bar for who they run, who they appoint, their standard bearers. But I don't feel like it's asking a lot that you know the difference between a girl and a boy. I mean, the standard's pretty low, actually. And by the way, I'm going to be an equal opportunity critic today because later I'm going to talk about how low the standards are that Ivy's been in office as long as she's been. But today, seriously, listening to the mealy mouthed word salads that came out in this hearing yesterday was it's almost surreal. My daughter, you guys know, is homeschooled. So I was listening to portions of not just the justices, the questions and answers coming out of the hearing, but also, or the oral arguments. I'm sorry, but also the um, some of the speeches outside, which is I'm going to get into here in a minute. But my daughter was listening as there were discussions about what is the difference between a girl and a boy. And one of the justices kept talking about cisgender women and transgender women. And I was like, boy, girl, man, woman. Like, you wouldn't have to do these mental gymnastics of what cisgender, that's not a thing. I'm not a cisgender woman. I'm, in fact, just a woman. If Steve decided to become a woman tomorrow, maybe bought himself a wig and found himself some razor and some lipstick, would not be a transgender woman. He would still be a dude
Dressing up.
dressing up. Yeah,
And by
no,
the way,
not gonna
not getting a
happen.
wig.
Fine. We'll let Richard wear the wig tomorrow.
Okay,
This
that ought to be
is this is
interesting.
what happens when he walks down the hall.
No, I like the fact that I actually shave my hair.
Yeah.
What little I actually have, because I'm very bald on the top.
How often do you have to do that, by the way?
About every other day.
Oh, okay.
And it's so much easier. I mean, I remember when I was, in high school, I had the mullet, I was the rocker and all that kind of stuff. And
That's a big change.
yeah, it is. And you know what? I like it a lot more.
You like it more.
A
So
lot less maintenance.
So my kids have three male influences in their lives. Three just incredible men, and two of the three shave their head,
Yeah.
and it's like the thing, right? And by the way, the third, the third probably should. His hairline's receding. I'm not gonna say I'm not the cause of that. I haven't been the cause of that in the last decade, but I'm just gonna say he's not far off from having or needing a shaved head. But all kidding aside, so my daughter's listening to the oral arguments in some of these. I wrote a story for 1819 News yesterday. You can go find it online. It's Keep Fighting Against Mental Illness. Tuberville Robertson defend Title IX protections in speeches during SCOTUS oral arguments. And as we're listening to these speeches, my daughter is like, yeah, yeah. Like it's so obvious this shouldn't be a left or right thing. This shouldn't be a us versus them thing. It's basically sanity versus insanity. But I want to read a little bit of what Tuberville said, and I would play the audio clip, except it was taken from a cell phone during a really crowded rally, and the audio was just awful. But Tuberville, incredibly passionate, giving a speech outside the oral argument, said, I've had 3 votes in that building over there in the last 4 years, 3 on the Senate floor about keeping men out of women's sports. I got not one damn vote from a Democrat. Not one. They voted it down 3 times. They couldn't care less. They care about power. They care about greed. They don't care about women. They can't care less. That's what he said. But he goes on and he's talking, first off, if anybody knows about the differences in men and women playing sports, right? It's Tommy Tuberville, who had a career of working with athletes with athletic men. He knows the difference between a male body and a female body. He talked about no coaches in a different interview. He talked about women coaches he knows and women athletes he knows. Which, by the way, you don't have to be a football coach or a former football coach to know there are male athletic abilities, like any given time. Um, so he talked about first. He said he looked over because the way that they set up outside of these hearings, if you've never seen it, is basically one side sets up and does a series of speeches and press conferences and the protesters, and then the other side sets up. And he looks to the other side and he said, "I cannot believe there's women standing over there. I can't believe it. Title IX has given people an opportunity. Folks, let me tell you something. If we don't make a stand now," this is me quoting Tommy Tuberville, "as Senator Justice said a while ago, if we don't make this stand now, this country will go down so fast our head will swim." He then talks about, and this is an important part, he says, "I've got my first grandchild, Rosie Grace. I'll be damned if she's going to take a shower with a man." Now, he shouted that part, and kudos to him for that. That's something that's being lost here. Not only are women in in athletics, they're losing their scholarships to men. They're losing their records to men. They're losing, there's an invasion of privacy happening. You know, there's a case out of right now. I want to say it's out of Virginia, where a male who identifies as female allegedly told the girl to suck his boy part, okay, in a locker room because she didn't want him there because she wasn't comfortable with him there. These are um, fully intact for lever, but these are pre-surgery boys in a women's locker room. And Riley Gaines has talked a lot about this. The fact that we need a U.S. Supreme Court decision to say states can protect their girls, to say that states with liberal governors cannot force this upon girls, it's just mind-boggling because we're going back, and this goes back to the same thing the Democrats have been doing with DEI and CRT and so many of their agenda. We're going backwards as a country. We fight for fairness. We fight for the funding of women's sports. We fight for, otherwise we just have male sports programs. And let's not kid ourselves. Where is the focus of athletics at most colleges, nearly every college? And women's teams get support because of Title IX. And you've got these boys who can't cut it, a lot of them. And let's not, literally, a lot of these boys go from competing in the right sport, in the boy sport, and being absolute crappy boy runners or absolutely crappy boy swimmers. And then they go and move over into the girls' sports. And we've seen this time and time again. And so to me, it's crazy we have this court case. It's crazy that we have to have someone so common sense, so plainly talk about it as Tommy Tuberville did. But when we come back from this break, I'm going to tell you some of the other speeches. And then if you haven't seen some of the cast of characters that were there, I'll put that on my X, APRYLMARIE on X. I'm going to retweet some of the crazies that were there. Back in a minute. this this is amazing. I don't even know what's happening.
Playing with cover songs. It's what we usually do on Fridays. I just figured I'd have a little more fun with it and just let's go with it.
Let's go with it. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday play-ins. I love this. And I haven't even heard this regular song in a minute.
Really? You never heard the Cutting Crew original?
No, I've heard the regular.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I just haven't heard it in a minute. This is a great song.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know about the cover, but April Marie here, filling in for Andrew the rest of this week and Monday. Like as promised, I posted one of the. I don't even know. I don't even know what is happening here. It's a dude in a Statue of Liberty costume with a transgender flag who is trying to figure out why we have segregated sports to begin with. And maybe it's because if you look at, say, most sports with records, the males will dominate the females nearly every time. There's rare exception where there's just a phenomenal woman, track star or a phenomenal woman, swimmer or something. But we've seen women in volleyball get just whacked with the ball. We've seen men by a male athlete who is competing on a female team. We've seen it in basketball. We have seen all of these challenges plus some. And it's not just unfair. It's absolutely ridiculous. It is ridiculous on its face. How we end up needing to go to the U.S. Supreme Court shows you where we are. And hold on the line, Daniel, and feel free to call in if you've got thoughts on men and women's sports and the fact that this has gone all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. But Catherine Robinson was in D.C. Well, I'm going to back up. Closing out Tommy Tuberville's speech, he said, keep fighting against mental illness because that's what we're doing, fighting against it every day. Make no mistake, this is mental illness, okay? You have got to be mentally ill. I don't give two hoots about what your professional, national organization says. It is an absolute mental illness for you to look in the mirror as a dude and be like, no, I'm a girl. No, I'm a female. That's what I am. And then you've got to be either mentally ill or stupid to be like, yeah, and he should be in a girls' locker room. And he should compete against girls. And he should take women's prizes and women's places and women's scholarships. Like, both of those are a variation. Now, I know on the left, you don't want to be called a bigot or hateful or all the things I've been called for years in calling out this nonsense. At this point, it's like it just bounces off of me. Like, oh, you're a bigot. Okay. If it makes me a bigot in order to believe that females should be protected, then yes, call me a bigot. That is whatever you say, friend. But you're watering down the definitions of words, and it's crazy. So Tuberville, keep fighting against mental illness. And that is quite literally what it is. You've got a delusion, and you're expecting the rest of us to play along with it. And the answer to that is no. It's not that I don't care about your feelings. I do. I want you to be happy, but I'm not going to make you happy. I'm not going to lie to you to make you happy. I'm not going to bend and suspend reality to make you happy. And that's ridiculous that you would ask me to. Daniel on the line with a comment before I get to Catherine Robinson's speech. How's it going, Daniel?
Hi, April. How are you?
I'm good.
So, love the way you did the summary there at the very end, because that was the point that I was wanting to call in and talk about. It's absolutely pathetic that we have to have the Supreme Court trying to define what a girl and a boy is. It's nonsense. It makes no sense to me. And maybe it's just because I'm of an older generation. I'm almost 50. I don't get it. I thought it was pretty common knowledge what a boy versus a girl was.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. You never see it really going the opposite direction. It's men and women's sports.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Physically, we're just more inclined. That's the way the Lord made us. We are the hunter-gatherers. We're supposed to be. And I will tell you, I've been married for almost 30 years. I had this epiphany young in my marriage, and that's probably why we're still married, and it feels like yesterday. We have a wonderful marriage, but when I was young, I literally remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I woke my wife up. I was like, you know what? I'm 6'1", 225 pounds, athletic build. I can run faster than you, taller than you, I'm bigger than you, I'm stronger than you. I can hunt, I can do all this stuff, and yet I spend every waking moment concerned about your little 5 foot tall self. Who's the smarter of the species? Women, to me, are just smarter, much more intellectually intelligent than we will ever be. Men are just naturally physically stronger. It's just the way we are built.
It is
And
like
I am
that.
sorry, I will never, ever, ever, for the life of me, there's not a conservative out there, I don't believe, that really gives two craps what anyone does in their bedroom. I really don't
I don't
care
care
what you do
either.
in your
Yeah.
bedroom. However, what I do care about is when you try to ram it down my throat and act like I'm somehow supposed to acknowledge it and accept it. I don't.
Nope.
It's none of my business, but once you bring it to the forefront and you try to express your opinion, then you will get my opinion about it. I will never call somebody by a plural pronoun.
They,
That
them.
goes against every bit of education I've ever had in my entire life. That's so stupid.
Are you
It
ready?
makes
It is
no sense.
stupid. There's no caging that. There's no softness to that. I'm not going to even play the game. That is stupid. Now, what I will tell you, there have been, and for those who don't know, I have a problem with Starbucks. If there were a 12-step program for Starbucks, I would be in it. And so more often than not, I've seen they thems at Starbucks. I saw one at the pet store the other day. I saw one. It was a chick. But I will use their name. I won't yes ma'am them. Just because I'm like whatever. But if I know their name, I'll be like, okay, hey Pat, thanks for the coffee. But no, I'm not playing their reindeer games. I'm not playing the manipulation. Is it toxic empathy? You can't get me to poison my reality or reality with your wants and needs. It's just not going to happen.
I completely agree. And going back to the boys and girls sports, if I'm not mistaken, and it's been a while, but didn't the 200th ranked tennis player on the male side play like Serena or Venus Williams when she was at the very top of her game and absolutely obliterated her? It's not her fault. It has nothing to do with whether or not she's a great tennis player. She just can't play at the caliber or hit as hard as a man can. It's just biology, and it's actually creation. It's how the Lord made us. So
203rd.
I
It was.
don't understand the mentality.
It is ridiculous. Thank you for calling, Daniel. I really appreciate that. You brought up a couple of good points. What he was talking about was the male player who played Serena and Venus. It was a 1998 exhibition game. A German player who was ranked 203rd in the world and defeated both sisters easily. Easily defeated both sisters. And that's the kind of thing where you're like, I don't care what you want to argue. Every now and again, a boy throws a match, and let's not kid ourselves. That's what they're doing. When all the media comes and they're covering a track meet or a this or a that, the boy will literally slow himself down so that he gets second place. You know what? He doesn't deserve to be on the podium. Period. Hard stop. No boys and girls sports. It's that easy. It's uncomplicated. And to Daniel's point, I am a big fan of this, and we live in a day and age when it's quote not socially or politically correct to say, but gender roles matter. Gender roles matter. There is a difference between raising up a little girl and raising up two boys. I'm doing it right now. There is a difference in the way I'm raising my boys. There is a difference in their natural instincts and their natural behaviors. They roughhouse with one another way more than my daughter ever cared to roughhouse. She has the more nurturing. It is inherent in who we are, and more specifically, it's inherent in who God created us to be, and how we behave, how we act, how our bodies are, and so all of this argument is just ridiculous in terms of, oh, there's you can be fluid here. Here, there were tomboys when I was growing up. There were girls. I went through a tomboy phase. Okay, you can be tomboys. You can also have boys who are a little bit more effeminate. And that doesn't make you the opposite. And we live in a time where if little boy is effeminate, then the radical left will say you're a girl. No, you're a dude. You're a dude who likes tights is still a dude. A dude who wants to do ballet or cheerleading, which, by the way, some of the things men cheerleaders can do, not the crazy dude who was like all, I don't even know what to call it. But I know guide cheerleaders. There is a role for men who are interested in typically female things. And then there's a role for females who are interested in typical male things, but that doesn't make them switch places. And the fact that we as a nation are talking about this and constantly talking about this and have been for years because the left wants to pretend that this is somehow some sort of spectrum, and it's not. So Catherine Robinson was there on behalf of the state of Alabama. Now, most people have only know her name because she is running for attorney general in the state. But right now, she works for Steve Marshall in her role as chief counsel for the U.S. or for the Alabama Attorney General's office. Sorry, that's chief counsel for the Alabama Attorney General's office. And she gave a great speech talking about how Alabama has been leading this way. And she said, in some ways, and she's saying this to a national audience, I just want to say, we told you so. She said, I know when Alabama debated our law and many laws on this topic, we were told that it was a solution in need of a problem. But you may remember this all started at the tail end of Obama administration when we were told that sharing private spaces between girls and boys was more about fairness and had nothing to do with public safety. In 20 She goes through this timeline. In 2019, Jerry Nadler told us that arguments about bathrooms in sports were scare tactics. On the campaign trail in 2020, Joe Biden stated that the idea of a trans kid is a threat to anybody in sports wasn't true. And then a year later, took office. Jen Psaki stands at the podium and backpedals on that and says that Joe Biden now supports boys and girls sports. And so Alabama led the way. Now, I will say from the first time that bill was introduced, I took my daughter and I went and testified. Obviously for a 8, 9 year old girl, it was an experience, but we talked about it and I don't have her involved in politics, but at the time this was a bill that I thought, okay, we're going to go do this together. And now she plays volleyball, and I wouldn't want a man on the other side of the net. I don't care what he's wearing. I don't care if he's got makeup on or not. I don't care if he's grown his hair out and it's in a ponytail. It's braided. He doesn't belong on the same court as her, and you can't argue with me otherwise. Catherine Robinson was an athlete, has a daughter, if you're watching on the live stream, I've got my woman shirt on. She was actually 2 days ago in a sweatshirt by the same brand in Washington D.C. This is something I will talk about and preach about, for that matter, until it is absolutely outlawed and we are mocking and laughing at those who supported it when they did. I've said this all along. You talk about the idea of gender roles. I believe we need to have a row of fathers and grandfathers outside every locker room that a boy wants to get into, and they just need to stand there, form a human chain, and prevent it because that's where we are as a nation. If our lawmakers, if our school administrators won't prevent it, the men in our lives need to, because that is their role, protectors and providers. And you can argue with me about this all day. Feel free. The phone lines are open. But I wholeheartedly believe this. All right. When we come back, I may talk a little bit more about what happened at SCOTUS. Bruce Pearl went. He spoke. He gave several interviews and did a straight to camera discussion about why he was there. It's kind of fun watching him wade into politics a little bit. We'll be right back. We're going to take a break. You're listening to April Marie for Andrew on the line. Well, good morning, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Andrew. I looked down at my phone during that last commercial break. One text is from a friend going, "Boy parts." For those who don't know, I don't have access to the text line, so Steve can keep an eye out for it over there. But if you've got something to say, feel free to call. That number is 545-9950 on
So
any.
far, the biggest reaction is why is Ketanji Brown Jackson up there actually listening when she should have excused herself?
She is a hot mess, is what she is. Actually, I'm so glad she's there listening and asking questions because she is the most ridiculous example of a DEI hire. Pretty much, I thought it was going to be Kamala Harris, and then during yesterday's arguments, there was all of this like mental gymnastics required to listen to Kanye Jackson. That's what I just said. Jackson speak because she was the one talking about cisgender and transgender girls and are they not the same, and which during her confirmation she couldn't tell you the difference between a boy and a girl because she wasn't a biologist. Well, apparently she hasn't made friends with one since she's been on the court because she still doesn't know the difference between a girl and a boy is, which is so stupid. You have to be stupid, crazy, or just playing along to end up where we are with people on the left acting like a dude can decide to be a girl. Like it just genuinely doesn't make sense. We don't play along. And by the way, I am a huge, if you didn't know this, advocate of better funding for mental health care. I'm a big advocate of getting rid of the destigmatizing severe and persistent mental illness. That's not the we've started normalizing versions of mental illness that should probably not be normalized, this included. But I really do believe as a nation we have turned our backs on those who truly need. And this came up during our conversation about homelessness the last time I was filling in. And so I truly believe we as a nation do need to go back to supporting families with individuals with severe and persistent mental illness, and making sure that we're giving care when we shut down asylums and just basically put people out on the streets or sent them home to terrorize their families. And it's not like they mean to terrorize their families, that the ones that are truly mentally ill. But I say all the time, if there was somebody with bulimia or dyslexia, or not dyslexia, bulimia or a eating disorder or a cutting disorder, if somebody with a cutting disorder, we're not going to hand them a knife. We're not going to hand them a razor blade and be like, that's what you feel like you need to do for an outlet. Go ahead. Oh, you see yourself as fat. Let me help you. I'm going to reaffirm. I'm going to affirm that you're fat, and then I'm going to, even if you're not, even if you're stick small because you've been denying yourself food or you've been binging and purging or what something really serious, we don't affirm that. We don't say, "Oh," we say, "No, you're sick, sweetie, and we're going to get you help." And across the board, we're going to address this. And so, with the transgender nonsense, you've got and primarily these days, it's a social contagion with young kids, which is how we end up with it in all of these sports. But we end up with, and people go, "Oh no, you've got little Johnny wants to compete as a girl now. Little Johnny wants to come to school in dresses." We all have to affirm that. No, that's a mental illness. If a schizophrenic came in and said, "We're all CIA," are we going to all act like we're CIA? Are we going to play along? No, you don't do that. And so this is absolutely ridiculous on its face, ridiculous, and a crazy conversation we're having. Okay, so read a little bit about what Catherine Robinson said. We did lead the way in Alabama. I loved being a part of that early conversation. We were when I was there. Here's the thing, and this really frustrates me. This leads actually right into what I'm going to talk about in the next hour. Legislative session started this week. For those of you, I know that you hear a lot about national politics. You turn on your TV, you turn on your radio. You've got what's happened with Venezuela. You've got Iran. You've got the fraud in Minnesota. You've got the girl who decided to run over an ICE officer. You got all of the who was killed as an active self defense. We'll get to that a little later because it's my first time on the program on the channel since that happened. You got a lot going on in the world. I do not for 1 minute want you guys to stop paying attention to what they're doing in Montgomery. I also want you to pay attention, and it's hard to do at times when it before the radio ads start and the mail starts dropping and all of those things to what the candidates for statewide and for U.S. Senate are doing right now. It's incredibly important. This week, legislative session started in Montgomery. That's where this fight for to protect girls in Alabama sports, that's where it started. And around the around the country, what we have seen is the crazies, and I'm going to call them that because you have to be crazy to think a boy is a girl. The crazies, they show up. It is so frustrating to me when the day that the bill was heard in the hearing for to prevent boys and girls sports in Alabama, there were three. That's including me and my daughter. Three, maybe four of us tops there in support of girls. They're against the boys playing in the sports. On the other hand, the other side drug out, they end up with a room full of their crazies. They can turn them out. Part of the reason is they don't have real jobs and they yeah, I just made Steve laugh. They don't have real jobs. They don't have real lives. They don't have whatever the obligations are. And they go up there and some of the most organized are the people who are out there trying to change our reality. And in this legislative session, we're not expecting a ton of issues that are related to this specifically. There is a bill that would prevent teachers from putting up LGBTQ or transgender or any of those flags or stickers or any of those things in their classrooms. But we're going to get into that in the next hour. What is going on in Montgomery, Alabama? Right now, legislative session started. We'll also get into the next hour, the State of the State address by Governor Ivey yesterday. So transitions perfectly. We passed it first here. Now Supreme Court's discussing it. Back in a little bit. You've got April Marie.